So the project, let me show you the project first. So, you know, last week, I think, we did this one, the carry holder. So this had got a little handle on there. And when you opened it up and laid it flat, it's got a couple of zips down here. So you've got a pocket at each side. So this time, I've done it slightly differently. So we made that really good, like the zippity doodahs that we see every now and again, which are quite, they're not cheap, let's put it like that. And we made our own so that each piece slotted into a channel. So this time I'm doing an even easier way, but let's just have a look here. So this is what we have. No handle, otherwise it would be the wrong way up. Can you see? And what we have in here is a little pouch. So when we open it up, what we have is a zipped pouch in the middle, and then at each side we have a pocket. Where's my zip? So we have the zip there and your clear vinyl pocket. You can see what you pop in there. So I thought it'd be best to put some things in so you can see. And then on this side, exactly the same. But what have I got in there? Oh, I've got some binding clips. I shan't be able to find my binding clips tonight, shall I? But it is really quite easy. If you did the other one, this is quite easy. But the thing, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And then I suddenly thought how I could get this, the zip pouch. Okay, we've got a couple of lines that are across there in the centre, but that looks fine. And how do you get it with basically a double-sided outer fabric there? And because it's clear vinyl, you can see there's outer fabric or there's lining fabric, but I've used the same fabric throughout so that you can see it. How did we do it? So that is what we're going to do tonight. Now let's just dip you down so that you can see exactly what we need. I hope you like it. Oh, lots of more comments and I've missed them. Let me just see before we start. Absolutely, Sharon, he did, and he was. Oh, too much information. Hello, Janet, and hello, Pauline, and what else have we seen? Jill loves it. Evening, Sarah. And you like it. Hello, Kathleen. It is. Oh, Bridget likes it too. Okay, we're going. No, we're not. We're going close to me. Let's go down. Excuse the mess. And let's have a look here. Let's pop that just there. And what we have. Oh, have I dropped that bit? Nope. That's a bit I don't need. So we need 2-inch wide strips for our binding. I've already pressed this in half along the length, just like when we do binding on our quilts. So we've got a strip that is about, I think I've done it about 60 inches long, so we've got ample. Okay. We then need 3 zips. I've used one already, but we need 3 zips, 2 for our pockets and 1 for the pouch. I'm going to pop those there. We need, now I have done this little bit to begin with already, purely because I think you'll know how to make a zipped pouch, and it is all in the instructions. So if you're a member of the Sew with Trisha group, you will of course have the free PDF in files in the group. If you're not, it is on the website www.sewtotallytrisha.co.uk, and it's just £3 for the whole PDF, giving you step-by-step full colour instructions, word and pictures to go with, to be able to make this yourself if you have forgotten. And of course this video I will put onto YouTube, so you'll be able to find it and be able to sew along with the video as well as the written instructions. So then what I have is 3 strips of fabric, which are, I think I've done them 2 inches wide, and they've been folded like your bag handles. So in half and pressed, opened out, and raw edges to the center on both sides, and then together and pressed so that we have a edge binding. So this is going to be for the zip edges, and I'm going to do one of them so you see, but we need 4. Then with those 4, then we need also a bit for the center, which the pouch fits on. And this piece was 3 inches wide, and I have folded to the back about 1/4 of an inch at each side of the long edge. And then this is the outer piece. So you need 1 piece of fusible fleece. I have used this lovely, this is Adita Sitar Sewing Bird. And I've used this, this is going to be my outer with all the cotton reels on and needles. And then for my lining, this time I've gone to different fabrics for all of them. So that is going to be my lining piece. Now this I've done 18 inches by 6.5 inches. So it's going to work really nicely. And then the other thing, which I have here, we need some clear vinyl. And it's hard to see, but here's my vinyl. And I've cut this to begin with 6.5 inches wide, because that's the width of the pouch and everything. And it was 8 inches long, but I have cut 2 inches off each of the pieces so that I have got that bigger piece and a smaller piece. That is where our zip is going to go in between. So, shall we start? Now, what I would suggest, yes, that's what we'll do first of all, because I want to put the zips in first of all. So let me just put that there, and I am going to fetch my pad because I have forgotten it. So just 1 second. Right. Okay. I am here. So I just like to be able to see if there's any questions as we go along. So let me just I'm just finding you on, or me on, or us on. That's it. Right. And then let's just turn that way. And I should be able, I can see, that's lovely. Okay, I'm just popping that up there so that we can see. Whenever you see clear vinyl, says Beverly, it brings back memories of the sewing needle going straight through. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. That would not be very good. Yes, I don't often use vinyl, but I just thought this was ideal for using vinyl. So, yes, I've got to use my iron, haven't I? So let's get my iron on, because we need to just press one of these so that we know exactly what we're doing. So here is my small strip of fabric. So I know lots of you will like to, I was going to say modify, but make it special, bespoke to you for the size that you want. So these pieces of fabric are, as I say, 2 inches wide. But if you're and I would stick with that, but if you're making a wider one with a bigger pouch in it, you just make your width of them as wide as the outer piece. So all we're going to do is fold this wrong sides together. Just burn my fingers. Okay, so I'm going to press that across there, and then I'm going to fold the raw edge into the center, and the more accurately you do this, the better, because we will get everything neatly lined up. So it's just like we did with the previous one, the carry holder with the little handle on it. So if we press that so that they meet in the middle, and then fold them over so that these folded edges line up as well, and give that a nice press, that is going to give us a perfect finish for our zips, because it's going to go around the edge of the zip. So, as I say, there is our first one, and I have got 3 already done. So we've got 4. So what I'm going to do first of all, I have got the zipper foot on because on this occasion it does work really, really well. So all I'm going to do, there is my little piece of vinyl, and I'm just going to slot that in to there, and it will fit the whole way across if I've cut it accurately. Now, what I would say, let's take these out. When we're using vinyl, try not to, or no, don't use pins, because you will make a hole in your vinyl and it won't come out. Also, lengthen your stitch to not the bog standard 2 or 2.5. I would go up to a 3, because the smaller your stitch length or the shorter your stitches are will act as perforating it. And then if you do pull it that little bit, it would easily tear as if it were a perforation. So a longer stitch length is better. So I am going to, let's go, no, I'll go like this, that's it. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch fairly close to this side, so the vinyl side, because we're going to put the zip on this side. So if we stitch along here, when we put the zip in, we'll be stitching along this side. So I have got my zipper foot on. I am turning my stitch length up to 3, and I have just put a new needle in. So we should be good to go. So all I'm doing is stitching along here, and I've pushed the vinyl in so I can feel it's right up to this fold, and then that should be absolutely perfect for what we're doing. And we will, of course, be doing this 4 times. So there you can see I've got the edge here and my vinyl is there. So I like to do them in pairs. So the other one, it's not going to matter because it's the same at both ends, but that is going to go. So here's my bigger piece. So I'm going to want another piece of my vinyl, which I'm going to tuck in there, and I'm going to turn it around because that's the way it works with my zipper foot. And again, you can pop your clips on if you like, but I'm just pushing that into the folded fabric so that it fits along there nicely. Okay, so you can see that is going to go side by side and the zip's going to go underneath, but I'm going to sew the 2 pairs before we go any further. So there is another little bit there, and I'm just going to slot that in, and I can feel, and you will be able to feel, that it is right into that that little recess, and that way it's going to fit our holder very, very well. Okay, so there is another piece done. Just look at that, looks, oh yes, looked a bit longer one side, and then this one here. So let's pop that in. I'm going to turn it that way because I got a little bit of mess off of my iron, I think. Oops, that's the wrong way. So you can tell it's the wrong way if it doesn't fit. So let's just pop that into there and get those edges of the vinyl right to the edges of the fabric, and then we'll stitch across there. And you can see, well, you can't, you can just about see the fold that's underneath, and you want to see that that is on top of each other. You don't want it showing underneath, but we do want it, of course, to catch underneath as well. Okay, so there we have one, and then we want a little one. So we've got a big one and a little one, and now we'll take our zip. So the zip is a little bit longer than I need. So all I'm going to do on this occasion, I've got the nice neatness on both sides. So I am going to, the very first one, I don't really have to bother too much. Actually, let's put this one on because my needle is on the right side. So we are going to have a little bit of excess at each end. And what we're going to do is just hold the fabric up to the coil, up to the zip coil. And then if you want to use tape, that is very, very good, because that will hold it right in place. So all I'm doing, I've gone a little bit close there. All I'm doing is holding that right next to, and I'm just going along that edge so that we've got a nice straight line and holding the zip. So you see how neat that looks. So now if I turn that around that way, so I've got the larger piece of vinyl on this side, and then we're going to have the short one on this side. So just make sure they line up here and at the top. There we go. And as I say, you don't want to have a big gap seeing the tape in between. So just to the edge, I'm just seeing that that lines up nicely, just to the edge, and then start stitching. And I'm just holding that, I'm just pushing it in. Sometimes the zip bows a little bit, but if you push that in and just make sure that that all lines up really, really nicely, it just gives a very neat finish. Okay. Oh, jolly good, Carolyn. Right, so that looks neat. You see we've got the little bit there and the bigger bit here. So there's one. Now we want to do the second one. And as I say, it doesn't matter which way you do it around. So I've got the little one here, the big one here. If you have the little one here, because it is exactly the same, whichever way round you pop it. So let's do this one now. So again, I'm just laying this on here, get that zipper pull out of the way, and then we'll just, I'll tell you what I will do just for this one, just to show it differently. I've got some of my double-sided wash-away tape. So what I can do, let's just take that off there, is I'll pop the tape on here like this, and there we are. Just press that down, lift up the, whoops, no, so just burnish it a little bit so that we can lift the liner. So now I've got double-sided tape on there. So what I can do, pop our zip down here, I can pop that on there and get that all perfectly aligned, and then it won't move. So even better to have your wash away tape. So again, let's just start just here, and we can stitch along, and you can see then nothing moves. But if you haven't got any, or you feel confident enough to just stitch without the tape, absolutely fine. So it's just a case of matching up, lining up both ends so that it matches perfectly there. So again, let's pop our needle in, and along we go. So sometimes you just, if you haven't used the tape, you just need to push that in a little bit, just so that we get a nice even and neat finish alongside the zip. Okay. Right. Well, that's cut. Okay, so don't cut your ends off yet. And what we have here now is we have two pieces exactly the same, but one is going to go, well, we're going to have these right at the ends. So we're going to have the pockets opposite ways when it comes to popping them on our outer. Now, you stop your vinyl sticking to the machine bed, you place paper under it. You can do that. As you saw, though, it doesn't make any effect because we're not touching the vinyl, because we've covered the edge with fabric. So on this occasion, you shouldn't have any problems at all. So having put my zips in, I now want to just get rid of my zipper foot, and we'll put our, what have I done with that? I bet it's, oh, there it is. It's gone right through there. I'm just going to put my standard foot back on now. Okay, lift it up, just make sure that is correct. So the next thing I am going to do is, this is my outer. There is my fusible fleece already on there. Excuse me. So from there, I'm now going to place the lining fabric so it's got the right side facing out. So I've got right side this side, right side this side. Now I am going to, you know, the belts and braces me, I'm going to stitch all the way around the outside. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch from the other side, because when you have the lining in anything you're doing on the reverse, it doesn't tend to stretch. It's when it's on the top, which is our normal thing to do. It does actually, let's just turn that up there. It does actually tend to move. So what I'm going to do, I've got my lining fabric, albeit it's loose, but I am going to pop this on the underneath, and I'll just stitch there because I do want to put a few pins in around here, because we don't, there, that's it. So where's my pin cushion? That seems to have disappeared. Oh, well, I'm just going to hold it then, but I would be inclined to put pins. There we are. So I've come to that edge because I want it to line up right at this very end, but I'm going to hold it and keep my fingers and toes crossed so that it all lines up. So as I say, I'm sewing this time about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I just want to hold all of the layers together, and that lines up nicely. So give that a go in popping your lining fabric underneath, and I think you'll find the same as I do. Your fabrics will line up a lot better each time. So let's just line that there. Okay, and carry on stitching around here. Because basically the last thing we want is that when we come to put the other pieces together, it has shifted and you've got a great big gap. So if you also put your finger over or your hand over the fabric, that keeps it smooth, because I haven't got a walking foot on, which you could do, but that's keeping it nice and flat. So we're getting better, no movement. And I can see here, there is no little pleat of fabric, of excess fabric, and that's really going through beautifully. So that fitted perfectly, as I say, without any extra little bits. I'll have a look on the back. You know me, open and transparent. So let's see how that is there. Yes, you see, that is really, really good. It hasn't shifted. We haven't got any wadding showing. So that is our outer fabric there. So what I'll do now, I'm not going to, because we will need the pouch at some point. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take one of my, let's chop that bit of thread off. So where you can, definitely chop your thread off, because it just gets in the way. So the small piece wants to go at one end. And this is where most definitely, so line that up, because seeing vinyl is very, very difficult. You probably can't see it. Now it ends just there. And I'm just going to put as many binding clips around as you need. So I'm going to pop one at this side also, and then also down here, and just put that clip on. Oops, hold that up and put the clip on there. And then with our other piece, which is here, make sure your zip pull is facing up. Let's cut that little bit off, and that bit too. So that short edge is coming up this other end here. So again, just line that up with this edge, And let's look, there we are, I can see that is. And let's get a few more of our clips and pop that right at the edge to hold it, because we're going to do the belts and braces thing again in making sure that everything is all attached well. We could pop one around this bit here and then down to this end here. Whoops, there we go. And we need some around here. Now it looks as though my oh, that looks like that one's broken. Looks as though my vinyl there is a little bit wider, so I should trim that off. I don't know if you find it difficult in cutting vinyl because you can't actually see it very well at all. So I've got a little bit I shall be trimming off there. So what I would say to do here is undo your zip so that the zip is in the middle, or at least it's over the fabric, and then we can pop that on there and we can actually trim off the zip at each side. So I go, oh, that's in the way there, isn't it? So I can now trim this off because I've got my zipper pull in the middle. So let's just move that just a little bit so that I can cut off, there we are, cut off my zip and then put that back again so it's held tight. Now what I might do with the other end is actually wait until I've got round there. So as for this side, we can start wherever we like, but I'll start just down here. I'm going to stitch where I can see. I can see I've got a little bit of extra vinyl hanging over here, and it does go to the other side, so I know I didn't cut it particularly well. And this time, because it's a basting stitch, I'm going to do a long stitch, so over 4, and I'm just going to stitch, oops, no, I'm not going to do that because that's pushed that up. As I said, let's just trim that away. There we go. It's because that is what I said it wouldn't do. It was actually pushing, that's it. I didn't hold that down. So hold your vinyl down because we are actually stitching on top of the vinyl now. So it could move a little bit, but keep your fingers there pushing it back. Then we're coming over the edge of the zip and up around here. So again, round about 1/8 of an inch, but I'm stitching just where I stitched before. So that's just keeping our vinyl in place. There we go. And over to this side. There we are. So all the way round so that it is kept together. So again, I can take that off now. And then down this side. And there is, can you see, there's a gap here, but we'll be sorting that out very, very shortly. So as I'm just pressing down on the vinyl to keep it in place. This little gap, we'll leave that, that's purely fabric. And now we're going back onto the vinyl for the other end. And I'm going fairly slowly, but now I'll do this bit this time. So here's my zip. So at this point, let us open that up, and then I'll take that off because that's in the way. I will trim the zip off now, and then we can stitch over that. So that's held the zip in place. There we are. And now we're onto the vinyl again. So again, let's just go around that top edge. And I say with my fingers, I'm just pushing that vinyl back because I don't want it to slip. You could, in fact, which I've got right by me, use a Teflon foot, and then it wouldn't slip either. So I can actually trim this off because this is the other end. I can trim that off there, and we can just level that up. This is the side where my vinyl was a little bit wider, so I shall trim that. So just hold that down and back down here and just push that over. I'm just holding this nice and flat. The other thing I was going to say, if any time your vinyl has got a crease in it, just hover a warm iron over the top or a hairdryer. Just don't put your iron down onto it. Now this is where I'm just going to trim that little bit of extra vinyl to the edge of my fabric. So yes, if you have got any wrinkles or creases in your vinyl, a little bit of warm air is going to take the creases out. At worst, what you could do is pop a piece of fabric onto the top here. So I'm just trimming that away. You could put a bit of fabric here and just very lightly iron so that the heat from the iron goes through. And then it smooths it out. So you can see what's happening there. But what we have here, can you see? It's open. We need to make that solid. So at this point, we are going to fold it in half, like so. And then I'm going to put, I can put a pin, if I can find a pin. Oh, there it is, hiding. We can put a pin just in the fabric, so it's not going through the vinyl anyway, at this side, and just line those corners up there so that we find the center. So there we are, I've got another one there. So that is the center, marks the center there. Now, what we need to add here, because as I say, we do need to close this here. So this is where I've got another piece of fabric, and I'm going to center that over. So I could fold that actually, have a little crease, and then line that up. Now there's no vinyl here, so I can put that pin in there actually. And then let's find the center of this piece, little crease, and that lines up with that pin just there. So let's put the pin in there. And now when I stitch around this piece, it's going to create the bottom of the pocket. So let's just have a look here. So I'm going to go back to my normal 3 stitch length, and I'm just going to stitch all the way around the edge. So we are on the fabric, so we shouldn't have a problem here. So let's just stitch across, and we can keep that nice and smooth. Just keep your fingers on there. And then also I am going to stitch along this side edge, just there, to hold that down as well. And then bring it round, and again just hold that in place and keep that nice and smooth. Try and keep your stitching straight along those sides. Just take that pin out as well, and all the way across there. Whoops, didn't want to go that far, but go one back, and then down this side edge as well. And then everything is held together. And also, when you put my hand in here, I've got a base. I've got a line that is creating that pocket now. So that's quite simple, isn't it? So let's just, there's a tiny bit hanging over that edge there. Let's just give that a trim off. So the straighter it is, the easier, the better it will be when we do the next few pieces. So I'm just trimming those little bits of thread that are hanging on the edges. So that is our inside. Not too bad at all. So the thing that's going to go on here is our pouch. So I have got the pouch done to a certain point, and there are videos on YouTube for you to see if you want to do it. But I've got my zip in here. These pieces were 8 inches wide by 6 inches long. I've cut a 3/4 inch square out of each of those corners. And then I've just put the zip in as I usually do. But I thought this is where it just is slightly different. Not at this point, but I've got the lining underneath. So all we're going to do is join the sides and the lining. So we are going to stitch. Let's start along the bottom. So first of all, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to stitch along this bottom edge. And because I've got no vinyl now, we can go back to a normal, I'll go to 2.4, but 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let us start along here. So I'm going to stitch along there. Oh, the other thing I haven't done yet, which I must do, I must open my zip. So before we go any further, let's open up the zip because we're still going to turn it through. Okay, let's pop that under there. So here we're going to just push the zip in, and I like to have a clip where I'm where I'm lining up these sides. So I'm just going to push the zip down and line up these edges because that is going to be at the top. And here is the lining. We've got lining over lining and outer over outer. So let's start now at the bottom of one of the sides. And again, we can start here and just make sure those sides line up. And then we get up here, I'm going to stitch over here and then line up the lining sides like that. And as you saw, we left the, oops, let's line that up properly. We left the edge of the zip where the tabs were. I left that open because, there we are, because we don't want to stitch that in. So I'm just going to, this is my lining piece. I'm going to leave a big gap in the bottom here. So starting here, and again, let's just reverse. And I'm only going to do a smallish bit. There we are. So I've perhaps stitched about 1 inch. And then I'll move it over to the other side and say 1 inch or so from the edge. And I'm just reversing there because I want that to stay in place. And then we can go up the other side. So line up the lining, the raw edge. And there we go. So keep that all nicely aligned. When I get towards this bit here, I'm going to take that off, put my finger on it so that we can stitch over there and line this side and down to the other cutout corner. Okay, so this is where the next step would normally be to do these corners, but we leave these corners open. We leave this corner open. We don't, at the moment, we're going to leave this, but we will be closing the lining gap. So what I'm going to do though, just for ease, if we just fold that back 1/4 inch along there, this just makes for easier, and I'm just nail pressing there. It makes for an easier turn through once we have it at the right side. So I've just nail pressed that. So that's is going to be the gap that we're going to use to turn this through. Okay, so there it is. So I'm going to put my fingers in here, pull this through, and pop that through like that. Bigger the opening, the easier it is to go through. Okay, now normally I would say poke out those corners, and I'm still going to say that because when we poke out these corners, obviously we are going to have raw edges, but that is what we want. So there's my corner. Can you see that little hole? That is fine. There is my corner as well. That is fine. This piece here, we are going to close up. But what I am going to do at the minute, just take that back, I am just going to poke out So there is my nice, neat zip tab at the end. And similarly here, just push that up. And we've got a nice, neat end here with a little bit of thread. Take that out. And while we're here, we may as well, so this is going to have a hole, absolutely fine. And we can now, because I nail press that gap, it now just folds together really, really easily. And all I'm going to do is to stitch across there to close that gap. So I don't even need pins in here, because that's just lining up beautifully. I will reverse there because I don't want it to come open, but I am just holding that seam together and stitching fairly close to the edge, almost all of the way across. And that is closed. So let's just trim away those little bits of thread. And then we're going to poke it or tuck it into our pouch. And there is my finger. Now, normally you'd say, oh my goodness, I forgot to close the bottom, the corners. So there is our lovely little pouch. Here, what we're going to do is make sure, let me tuck my finger in there. What we want to do is poke the lining into that corner so that, whoops, I'm going to have to pull it through just a little bit. We want the lining and the outer to actually be in line with each other. Okay, so I'm not making a very good job of this. There we are. So I'm just going to line that up, flatten it, and then I'm just going to stitch across here. Okay, so flatten that down, and then, as I say, we're just going to stitch across there, and that should hold, that should secure all those pieces together. So I'm just going to trim that off just a little bit, but that's it, and get that thread out of the way. So it's raw edges, but it doesn't matter. Same on this side. Push that lining down there. I can see that's there. And then flatten it. And we can flatten the rest of the pouch as well. And then we can stitch across there. Now, I want to do it the same each side because this is going to be, I'm just going to trim a little bit off there. You could cut a slightly bigger hole than I did, but we've got raw edge there and raw edge there. Okay, can you see those raw edges? But that is how it should be. So what we have now, we are going to place this onto that centerpiece we did. So we can line, and I'm going to flatten the pouch down again there and line that up with the edge. We can put a clip on there, and we can do the same on the other side. So into the center there. I'm just going to hold this one at the minute because I'm going to stitch it. So we've got that in the center of this piece here, and I'm just going to stitch on that same line again to hold it together. So there we are. Right. So that's attached that side. Flip it around. I'm now doing this side here. So line it up with the edge. And that's attached there. Easy peasy. So at this point, just put my hand in there. That is attached. Okay, it's going nowhere. So I can actually do that up. And all we need to do now is attach our binding around the edge. So I'm just going to pop that over there. So all we need to do, I have joined two pieces because it's a little bit longer than a width of fabric. So once you have pressed your 2-inch strip in half with wrong sides together, what I do is open it out And then I'm going to make a diagonal cut, 45 degrees or thereabouts, across. And then I'm going to fold about 1/4 inch, just under, over, just to make that. Let's just press it with this. If I got the iron on, I would have done it with the iron. So just crease that down and then refold your strip. So can you see? There we are. So that is nice and neat along that edge. And it is, it's got the wrong side showing as well, but that doesn't matter either. So what I'm going to do is just pop a pin in there just to hold it. At home, you will give that a press. But what we're going to do now is put the binding on. So if we start, you can do it by hand, by all means. But if we start here, I'm going to lay it on the pocket side so that I can flip it over to the right side and stitch around on the right side. So I'm going to line that up there. And I am going to make sure I'm going back to 3 because I'm stitching through vinyl. I'm going to have a longer stitch length. It will still be absolutely fine. So I'm just trying to get my, oh, that's it, my pedal. Okay, so I'm going to start, oops, get the pouch, press the pouch out of the way. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And it's just as if we are making a binding on our quilt. So 1/4 inch, I'm going to stitch up to the top here, 1/4 inch from the end, and then I'm going to stitch diagonally into the corner and cut. Then I am going to flip the binding to my right, give it a nail press down the diagonal, and then over to my left. Let the fold line up with that previous edge. Let's see it there. And then pivot that round, and we'll start right from the edge, 1/4 inch again, and line it up with the raw edges there. And we'll stitch across here to 1/4 inch from the edge, and then, oh, everything's in the way here, into the diagonal, and then over to the right so that it all lines up along here. We will crease that diagonal fold, take it over to the left, and then we will pivot around again and start at the edge here. So what we're doing now, we're going to come past the pouch for the first time. So we're still stitching our 1/4 inch, and what we can do with the pouch is just squash it out of the way. So I'm still making sure that all lines up beautifully at the edges. And then you see here, this is where our pouch bottom is, and we're going to make sure that is stitched in our binding. So just press that down, and we're going across there. So that's one side of our pouch in, and then we're just going up to the other end here to 1/4 inch from the end and into the diagonal, into the corner rather, and cut, and then again over to the right, crease that diagonal, back to the left, line the fold up with that previous edge, then bring it round again and across this top edge here. So again to 1/4 inch away from, and then pivot into that corner, and exactly the same, diagonal, crease, over to the left. We can put a crease along that fold too, and start right from the edge at the 1/4 inch. And again, I'm going to move that zip in a little bit because we don't want to hit that. And then straight down. Now it's when we get to this other piece here. Right, so we're coming down this edge and we're going over, so squash the pouch and keep that down. So we're going over that pouch bottom to completely attach it. And we're a bit long there, aren't we? That wasn't the best place to do that, because what I want to do is I want to have this piece down here. So let's just go back a step. I should have taken it a little bit further away from there because that wasn't the best thing to do. Because what I want to do, there we are. So I've just pulled that back just a little bit because I want to attach this piece. So this was my diagonal start. So let us just take that back, and I want just to keep that little bit down there because we will be stitching over it again. So I've just anchored that. Okay, I've just anchored that little bit there. Now what I want to do, this piece is going underneath here. So I'm just measuring to make sure where I trim this off, it's just got to go under this piece here. So if I just pop that there, you don't want too much. I'm doing a diagonal cut so that we don't have a lot of bulk. And then this is going under here, line up with the raw edge there and tucked in. Okay, so we've got that nice edge. And then I'm going to go back to, where did we go? Back to where we were stitching there, and then just carry on. I'm going over that same bit again that I've unpicked, and I'm just going to hold that down and all the way, so back to where we actually started stitching. Okay, so now we have, oh, have I not stitched that down? Oh, I don't think we were, no, let's pull that over. I think the bobbin decided to, yes, okay, so it didn't stitch there. So we just go back again. So it's round there, round there, round there. Thought something wasn't quite right. Let's pop that in. Right, so let's start back here again. And we have tucked that in, but it decided it wasn't going to stitch. That's it. So we are over there, over there. Right, let's hope it's stitched this time. Okay, yeah, that's better. So we're stitched and nice and neat. Okay, so that's in place. So now all we want to do is flip it over to the other side, and we are going to pull the binding over to this side. So there are my edges. Pull that over, and we are going to, we're not going to press it because there's vinyl there, but we're going to pull that over the edge, and I'm just going to stitch around the edge now. So these little bits of thread, you can either trim them off or tuck them under. So let's see. So I'm just going to stitch around here. Now this is just like we do, I'm going to trim those ones off, just like we do our patchwork quilts. So pull that little bit out. When I'm coming down to this corner, I'm going to pull that out and then flip this bit over. It'd help if I had some nails, actually. Pull that over, just to make ourselves a nice mitre. So let's stitch along here, get a little bit closer, and pop that in to make the mitre. That's into the next side. So I'm now going to bring that around. Got a few stray threads here. Let's just take those off. Too many. Okay, so as I say, what I like to do is just bring those threads down and then just pull that edge over. Okay, so we're not stitching on vinyl. Well, no, we are around the edges, but we haven't got any to stop the machine going. So we can just carry on stitching. If you want to pop clips around here, you can. What I'm doing now is flattening the pouch so that it's out of the way when I come around here. So let's pop that down, bring that over. And it is really quite easy just to bring this over and hold your fingers on the binding, because we can't do that normal pressing that I usually do. So let's just take that over there, and we're going over the pouch bit. It's not that thick, so it goes through quite nicely. And then, oh, we've got another one down here. That's it. So again, we can just pull that over because we're going to make a mitre at that corner too. Bring that over and get a little bit closer to this corner one now, and bring that. That's going to make our mitre here. So I flatten the seam ripper into that and then pull that over. Actually, let's pull it over first of all, and then we can tuck that under. Whoops. Now, this is where you could use a clip, you see. Just holding that in place and bring that down. We'll come a little bit further, like so. Bring that down, because I want to make myself a nice little mitre just here. But I want that to come down there. There we are. As soon as it's into the binding on the next round, that is exactly how we want it to be. And then we can carry on stitching. So this is the short edge. So I am going to turn that over now, like so. And bring that over, carry on stitching. And we can bring this one over as well. And again, we can make our mitre here, bring that down. Oh, that one went nice and easily. And I like to stick the seam ripper in there just to hold that down and miss, that's it. So that's in there, and just miss that piece. I miss the tip so that it doesn't, what you don't want to do is break your needle. So we are coming down here. I'm pulling the binding right over the edge, and that gives the binding the exact same width all the way around. So again, let's flatten the pouch out of the way, bring that over, and carry on stitching through there, and flatten that down too. I mean, I'm hoping you're thinking this isn't too difficult a project. I just take it one stage at a time. There we go. And it does work really, really well. If you've made a quilt before, you know, the binding is just the end of what you would do when you were making a quilt. So it's like it's no big deal. Just press that down a bit better. There we go. So that we've got that nice mitre there. That's it, I think we're in there. And then just pivot for the last time and try and go over the same stitches as you started. And then you won't be able to see where someone's done. There we go. And on that side too. Ow, clip that. Ooh. Just cut my finger. Oh, how stupid. Oh, okay. Look at that. Just cut my finger with the end of the scissors. Right. What I'm not going to do, as I have cut my finger, I am not going to put the cam snap in, because let me just see if, oh, and I don't want to waste that bit of fabric, do I? I was going to put a little bit of fabric around my my finger. Okay, so that is done. Okay. Oh, thank you, Donna. How kind of you. Right, I'm going to bring that back up again now. Really clever to cut. You know when you snip right in the end, which is what I did, snipped my finger. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a plaster at, because I don't want blood to go on here, do I? Okay, so there is your little pouch with your zipped pockets at each side. All I would do now is line that up there and then pop cam snap, yeah, just here and just here to clip together. There are other videos, or perhaps I could do another one tomorrow just to show you that last little bit, but it will clip together just like this one did. You can see those snaps there. I would just put those at the top of that there. I am sorry. Doesn't look too bad, but I know if I keep using it, it's going to open and bleed everywhere, which is good, isn't it? So we managed to get it done just in time. I said I might be a little bit longer. Yeah, love it. Oh, good, good. So as I say, the PDF is in the group. Download it, print it, save it, do whatever you usually do. It will go at the end of the month. So the sooner you do it, you won't forget, and you'll have that already. The other thing I was thinking as well, if you wanted to put handles on it, you could. I'd perhaps attach them quite close to the edge. But you could, if you wanted, put handles on there. But it is the sort of project for sitting on your table, being opened up, and then sit there just like that, just like I've got in this one, all my bits and pieces. So my throat's going now as well. Oh, my goodness. Oh, anyhow, I'm going to leave you there. You can now keep plasters. Yeah, I need to keep plasters in here, don't I? Oh, for goodness sake. I am so silly. Never mind. Okay, I will say thank you so much for joining me tonight. It has been a lovely week. We have done lots, and we'll do the similar things again next week. So have a lovely weekend. Hope it's not too cold with you. I think we've got snow coming, or a little bit, which will clear, but it's still going to get cold. So wrap yourself up warm. Go and, I thought EPP pouch, go and get some fabric out and wrap it around you, even if you're not going to sew with it. I'm silly. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.